Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy Will Dog back for the new video.
Nah, ain't no way, ain't no way.
Yeah, nah, keep the jokes
Warning would
coming.
be nice.
Fucking comedian. So yes, as you can see, I'm Asian, so first thing I would like to apologize for making all those jokes about Hitler. I pretty much just wanted to talk about all the books I read this year. So to provide a bit of context, my 2022 resolution was to fucking read more books. Didn't read a single ass book. But in 2023, I was like, you know what, I'm actually gonna capitalize on this and actually read some books. A very exciting video, guys, so make sure you don't all comment like at the same time. You gotta leave some room for it. Okay. The first book I read this year was The Stranger by Albert Camus. He's an incredibly famous author. He's written a lot of other books, and he's also won a Nobel Peace Prize in Literature. To provide some context about this book, I got it for my birthday from a friend, and like he made it all special and stuff. He like wrote a note in it, so I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm actually gonna read this book. And yeah, I honestly really enjoyed this book. It's quite a short read, but I'd say its effect on me is quite substantial, and it affects some of the ways that I think about different things in life today. Firstly, through reading this book, I really have to commend Albert Camus' ability to just describe a beautiful summer's day in Algeria. Like, it's pretty cringe, but like it really made me feel like I was there, and it also did two things for me. It made me just appreciate books as a way to describe our imagination, our emotions, and things that you can't necessarily do in movies or TV. It sort of made me appreciate the little moments in life, whether that sort of be a beautiful sunset, or just why people cry, or why people might laugh, or why they might smile. And from that, it sort of gave me a lot of confidence and hope that my life can be beautiful as well. But the biggest impact that The Stranger had on me was introducing the idea of absurdism. At the time of reading The Stranger, I was going through an existential crisis. Like, I hated the world, I hated people, and I just didn't want to wake up every day. And the more and more I sort of tried to dissect the world and question why is the world so cold? Why is the world so unfair? I just became more and more depressed. That's sort of where absurdism came in. So Camus does a really great job of weaving into this story as well, but essentially what he's saying is that, yeah, life has no meaning. There's no real reason why things happen to you or why things happen to other people. And that's because the world is just irrational and random. The more and more you try and find meaning in this world, the more and more conflicted you will become. And because of that, what Camus says is that there's a few things you can do about that. One, you can kill yourself. You can end your suffering and your constant conquest of finding meaning. Two, you can choose to believe in a higher power, such as God, and pretend that there is an actual truth and a way to live life. Three, you can embrace and accept the absurd, and through that, you'll truly be free. Life is incredibly weird, chaotic, and incredibly irrational as well. But in a weird sense, by accepting that life is weird and irrational, there's a freeing feeling because you're able to now fully live your life. A lot of things will be thrown at you, and whether or not it be good or bad, who knows. But honestly, I don't give a fuck if it's good or bad. At least I'm happy and I can live and experience the strange world that we live in. And to end this yapping session about The Stranger, I'll leave you with one quote that really encapsulated this change within me. "My man must have felt free then and ready to live it all again. Nobody had the right to cry over her. And I felt ready to live it all again too. As if that blind rage had washed me clean, rid me of hope. For the first time in that night alive with signs and stars, I opened myself to the gentle indifference of the world." So I was in a bookstore. I actually don't remember what book I was looking for, but Norwegian Wood caught my eye, and that's because it had a nice cover. Yeah, I'm one of those people. And I was reading the synopsis. It was about like getting over your first love and remembering that. So I was like, fuck it, I could use that. So I buy the book. I'm on some like, real shit. I'm like, shit, bro. Everyone knows Kafka by the Shore. Who knows Norwegian Wood? But turns out it's actually a really famous book. Like, even my mum like had read it before, and like we had it at home as well. So I was like, oh, okay. But honestly, I really enjoyed reading Norwegian Wood. I think me personally, I normally gravitate towards books that are written in first person as well as like slice of life, because I really love their ability to romanticize ordinary things. There's a lot of moments in Norwegian Wood where nothing really might be happening, but because of Murakami's ability again to sort of just take you through the protagonist's mind as well as hear their monologues about everything, it ends up being quite an enjoyable read, and I'd say it's quite similar to what Albert Camus sort of does as well. This sort of combined with Norwegian Wood's fantastic characters makes a really great combination. To this day, I still remember Stormtrooper, the homie's roommate, bro, just being on some weird shit. I still remember the time they spent with Narco and Rico in the psych ward. Now, based on the way I'm describing Norwegian Wood, it's really tempting to say that Norwegian Wood is like a happy book, it's a very cheerful book, And for the most part it definitely is, but it's also a story about processing grief. Yet the balance between the two themes of grief and also nostalgia create a really holistic experience about youth, growth, as well as loss. There's an underlying theme that we need one another to process grief and to get over grief. So the next book I read was The Little Prince, because I knew I was going to read like a more depressing book later. So then I was like, alright, shit, I'll just read like a happier book now and then I'll get ready for the depressing book. And yeah, you know, The Little Prince it's a really sweet story. It's just a fun story of this little prince going to planets. You know, there's a lot of critique of adult behavior such as alcoholism, pride, greed, and things like that. But overall, it's really just a sweet story. Despite it being, you know, a fun story and stuff, there really is a lot of deep moments within this story and a lot of lessons as well. And they all happen when this little prince meets this fucking fox. Like this fox is goated. But the one quote that resonated a lot with me personally is, "You run the risk of a few tears when you allow yourself to be tamed." So the reason that quote resonated with me a lot personally is because I'm scared of women.
I've been selling cracks since like the 5th grade. Really never made no difference with the shit made.
But it's the fear of intimacy that scares me the most. One, it could be that I lose my independence. Or two, it could be that person hurts me. Or three, that person goes away. Yet, despite the risk of tears or pain, the fox tells us that we shouldn't be scared of love. After all, it is the time you have wasted for your rose that makes your rose so important. Before I read The Little Prince, initially I wanted to maybe one day read it to my kid. But after reading it, I don't think that's something I can probably do. As the author says, it is a children's book written for grown-ups, particularly for its themes about loss. Like, in addition as well, I mean, this is a pretty big spoiler, but like, the little prince kills himself. And it's really sad, not just because of the little prince's death, but also for the narrator who finally finds someone who's able to view the world as the exact same as him. Who's able to find that a hat is merely just an elephant inside of a snake. Recorded this all in the same day. Don't even pay attention to my clothes. It's all good. Don't stress. Alright, I get busy, guys. Alright, what the fuck you want me to do? Like, I got other shit to do. So I also realized I forgot to show you guys the books. So this is Norwegian Wood, and then this is The Little Prince. Alright, and the more depressing book I read this year was No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. So it's semi-autobiographical. It's not 100% accurate, but it does reflect the author's life himself. And it's actually quite depressing because after he wrote this book, he actually killed himself. So in a way, this book is almost like the author's suicide note. No Longer Human is essentially about the author's life and how he finds difficulty connecting with other human beings and understanding them. Whether that be through his fear or through his low self-worth, he has an incredibly difficult time connecting with other people. And how the protagonist sort of deals with this is by putting on a fake persona. So essentially, he becomes a clown to other people. He tries to make other people laugh in order to mask his sort of alienation from other people. And what this sort of got me reflecting on is, who am I sort of portraying to the outside world? You know, everyone will sort of have an outside image that they portray to others. But it really got me thinking, who am I hiding myself from this world? You know, sort of typically, I myself am quite a reserved or shy person, whether that be out of fear or just low self-worth, it's just who I am. And because of that, so many people in my life have told me the exact same thing. They say, you normally look quite dead inside, but when something makes you happy or when something excites you, your eyes truly light up. And firstly, that's just my fucking face, you asshole. But secondly, these people do have a point, to be honest. Similar to the protagonist, I also am scared to show my true self, whether it be out of scared that I'll be rejected, scared that I won't be loved, or scared that people will judge me. Taking the lessons that I learned from No Longer Human and also The Stranger about opening yourself up to the world, when I started to do that, when I started to let myself laugh, and when I stopped neglecting my own emotional needs, that is when I truly became happier as a person. No Longer Human is an incredibly depressing read. The first line you ever read in this book is, "Mine has been a life of much shame. I can't even guess myself what it must mean to live the life of a human being." And the fact that it's written in first person really makes it an uncomfortable read. There's so many pages in this book where I'm just reading and I'm like, fuck, this is really uncomfortable and this is really hitting deep and heavy. Yet, No Longer Human serves as a cautionary tale of what happens if we neglect our own needs or if we don't respect or love ourselves. I think the most depressing part of No Longer Human is where, throughout the book, the protagonist describes himself as not a human or just incredibly low self-worth. Yet, at the very end of the book, this is what they say. "The Yozo we know was so easygoing and amusing, and if only he hadn't drunk. No, even though he did drink, he was a good boy and angel." And it really goes to show that, especially when we're in like incredibly depressed moments or when we're incredibly down, it's really hard to see anything good about ourselves. But despite that, there are really good things about each and every one of you that you should all recognize within yourself. If you enjoy books like No Longer Human, I would also recommend Oyasumi Punpun. but like at the same time I wouldn't recommend Osamu Pumpun because fuck me. The last book I read for 2023 was Demian, and keep it a buck, I haven't even finished this shit, bro. Like, I'm recording this now, right? It's January 6th, like the year's over. I still haven't finished this shit. So I got this book as a graduation gift after I graduated. I got it from a friend, and she said that it's a really great book that is like of coming of age, but also about end of life stages as well. So I thought to read this book after my graduation to see if it provided any, advice or anything really about what to do next in life. And something I'm really enjoying just reading this right now is the concept of duality. So in the book, they describe it as the two worlds where, one world you have everything good in life or everything that you're supposed to do, like go to church or, sing hymns of God and shit. I don't know what the fuck they do at church. But the other side is like the things that you're forbidden to do, like, have sex or anything that's sort of almost seen as bad in a way. What I appreciate about this book is the difficulty of trying to juggle both worlds. When you're young, you probably grow up in the good world where everything's beautiful, you have your loving parents, nothing really wrong happens in life. But as the protagonist gets older, he stumbles upon the bad world and he even is interested in it because all of his life he's been stuck in the good world. I thought that was incredibly interesting that what the author says is that you can't just live in one world, you have to live in both worlds, and it's bullshit to think that the world is only made up of the good world or it's only made up of the bad world. It lies somewhere in between. And that's what makes it a really good coming of age story and also almost a reflection piece, because obviously you can't just put everything into one world and you can't put everything into the bad world either. So you have to lie somewhere in between, and what the book asks and what the protagonist goes through as well is it's him sort of navigating where he wants to be. Does he want to be 60% good world, 40% bad? And obviously it's quite a difficult task, and that's what so far I'm enjoying so much about this book. But yeah, that was pretty much all the books I read in 2023. If I had to give a recommendation on which book to maybe read now, I'd probably say The Stranger. Like I said before, it has really good themes about existentialism, which is something I find myself thinking about more and more as I get older. But yeah, if you guys have read any of these books, please just let me know your thoughts of how you found these books or whether you agree or disagree. But other than that, yeah, thanks for tuning in so much, guys, and I'll see you next time.
This my type of living. Pulled up in that drain car and start spinning.